Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:06. Good morning. Oh, let's call it 6:07. O'Connor and Company here on this Friday morning in your nation's capital at 7:05. Heather Higgins, she's the top dog there at Independent Women. She'll be joining the conversation. 7:35, Emily Sturge, campus reform reporter. And at 8:05, speaking of reporters, he's the best around, Nick Minach, WJLA ABC 7. Talk about 2025, the big stories that captivated us, and also moving forward into what 2026 might look like. It's Larry O'Connor alongside the effervescent Patrice Onwuka. Happy New Year, Patrice.
Oh, thank you. Happy New Year. And happy Friday, everybody.
Sure, why not? I don't know how happy it is up in New York City. I mean, talk about bringing new meaning to the Big Apple. It's the Red Apple now, I think we need to start calling it, because Zoran Mamdani has delivered communism, just as he promised, I suppose. I know everyone calls him a socialist. Well, take a listen to this little snippet from his inaugural speech. It will be the soundbite that will forever cement Zoran Mamdani's approach to governance and the economy.
We will draw this city closer together. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. If our campaign demonstrated that the people of New York yearn for solidarity, then let this government foster it. Because no matter what you eat, how you pray, or where you come from, the words that most define us are the two we all share: New Yorkers.
Okay, now I guess the sentiment there that he's delivering has to do with unifying everyone in this incredibly diverse and let's call it an international city, as so many of the voters there, as we've discovered, actually forget about calling New York City home for less than 5 years. They called America home for less than 5 years. Yes, unify around those two terms. New Yorkers, we're all New Yorkers. Why do they keep flying flags from other countries, for that matter?
Exactly.
But the premise here, he laid out at the beginning of that statement about unifying all New Yorkers under those two words.
Together. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
The frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. Patrice, you studied economics in university here in America. Collectivism, the warmth of collectivism. Has collectivism ever been successfully implemented around the world?
No. See, their vision of collectivism is that everyone is going to live like a billionaire somehow, when in fact the actual visual are people where bread costs $7,000% more every day because of rampant inflation, where there are lines wrapped around the public grocery store where there is one chicken and maybe 1 gallon of milk on the shelf. I mean, it's a collectivism of misery. And what they always leave out about capitalism is the fact that we share our blessings through charity, through philanthropy. Yeah, we don't have to force everybody to give the government our entire paycheck and hope that we get back, something that we can actually live on. We believe in keeping as much as we can, and out of the goodness of our hearts or our faith, we share with other people who don't have. But they always ignore that in that frigidity of individual or rugged individualism, whatever analogy he used there.
Americans worldwide are the most generous people on the planet.
Yes.
And I also find it interesting that the second the government comes in and says, we're going to solve this problem, like homelessness, we discussed it on Wednesday,
yes,
criminal vagrancy, faith-based missions and charities that would house the homeless and feed the homeless and take care of the homeless. They used to do this in the private sector and in the charity sector. And Americans, wealthy Americans, would raise money and donate money and give money to help people because we were called to do that. The second the government came in and said, "We got this. We're going to handle this. We're going to take your money at the point of a gun through taxation, and then we will solve it." Funny thing happened. Donations went down, and the problem continued because the government's not good at solving that problem, and yet now, because Americans in their mind think, oh, well, my taxes will go to pay for that. I gave already. I gave through my taxes. Then the charities who actually were doing the good work, they go bankrupt. They go out
no
of
longer
business
have the
they can't raise
resources
money
to do
anymore.
that.
Oh, and one other great thing about how the government handles these problems, they actually force those charities who were actually doing the right thing to have to adhere to regulations. Like, for instance, in California, if you're a mission and you're a charity and you say, yeah, you can only sleep in our shelter if you don't take drugs, you don't bring drugs in, you've got to behavior.
Understandably.
The government will no longer work and cooperate with those missions because of those standards. So that's what collectivism is all about. But to suggest that, the Marxists who have all these wonderful, great ideas about what they're going to do in this country, like Zoran Mamdani, like Bernie Sanders, who we'll get to in a second, their economic model, if they even have one, is always built on the premise that they're going to continue to have all this money that is currently generated by our economy, right? So here, let me give you an example. Here's Zoran Mamdani talking about all of the child care, the free child care New Yorkers are going to get now.
Here, where the language of the New Deal was born, we will return the vast resources of this city to the workers who call it home. Not only will we make it possible for every New Yorker to afford a life they love once again, we will overcome the isolation that too many feel and connect the people of this city to one another. The cost of childcare will no longer discourage young adults from starting a family, because we will deliver universal childcare for the many by taxing the wealthiest few.
I get so freaked out by that. The roar of the crowd when somebody pledges to confiscate the wealth of individuals who have worked for and acquired that wealth is always terrifying to me, because if the crowd can cheer that, they'll cheer anything. But think for a second. Every economic model they have about free health care, free child care, free buses, state-run grocery stores, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's always built on the current wealth that is being generated in that society. They assume that money is going to be there. But the problem is when they start instituting that taxation and they start instituting their regulations and they start instituting their policies, the wealth disappears. It's not going to be there. So suddenly these things that they thought they could afford and pay for with the money of other people by confiscating it, now what are you going to do? You've already set it up, so where does the money come from? Like Margaret Thatcher famously said, at some point you run out of other people's money.
Well, yeah, you either have to go down the income ladder so that you're not just taxing the people making more than 10 million, you're taxing people making more than $1 million. Then you have to drop down to those making more than 500,000, then more than 200, then more than 100. And by that point, you're absolutely eating into your middle class in New York City, but you're starting to eat into the lower classes. And obviously, the wealthy are extremely mobile. They can easily pick up and reroute. And it doesn't mean that they're not roaming the streets of Manhattan. It just means that their home base, which is their tax address, so to speak, is not New York City. Yeah. You can easily change that and still make your presence known. So it's naive to believe that the wealthy can't move their money around and evade not evade taxes, but be smart about their tax policy strategies.
It's naive, yes, but it's also evil. We'll get into that in a moment. And some of the policies that Zoran Mamdani has already implemented in New York City. Say a prayer for the people of New York that are going to stay and live through this, because it's not going to be pretty. It's 6:15, WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the 5, Jamie Witten's in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
The cost of childcare will no longer discourage young adults from starting a family.
Can I just start with that premise? How many young adults are saying, yeah, I'd love to start a family, but the cost of that child care is keeping me from procreating? And first of all, if that's the case, that is a depressing, horrible indictment on our culture and on our society. But I'll tell you, when nobody can afford to have babies. It's just, I'm sorry. There's just every time you try to do the budget and calculate it, you're always going to find other stuff that you would rather pay for. My father's father had 10 children.
Wow.
He had no business having 10 children. And I assure you, he could not afford having 10 children, except that he could, because he made other choices in his life to accommodate having 10 children.
That's exactly right. I mean, childcare is not the only consideration a couple is going to have or a person is going to have when having a child. Yeah, there are lots of considerations, which is why you want as many different, if taking care of the child while you go back to work is a consideration, then let's figure out ways that you can actually work from home so that you could raise your, I mean, there are lots of options for childcare, not just what he's talking about. And that is not the primary driver of what's keeping these young people from having babies. I think it's selfishness, but that's another conversation.
Or dare I say, move out of Manhattan so that you can go to a place that is more affordable and maybe, raise a family on one-child income. Now, I understand there are people who will hear that and say, well, how dare you? If I was born and raised in Manhattan and now I want to start my own family, I have to move out. That's not my fault. Your generation made it more expensive. You should do something to accommodate my generation. And I will say to you, that's how the economy works in various places. And by the way, do you think that your parents started life in Manhattan? Very few people begin life in a place like Manhattan. They end up at a very high rent place. They end up at an expensive place, but they start in a more affordable place. For instance, my parents were born and raised in Detroit, right? When they started to have a family, Detroit, believe it or not, used to be a very expensive city to live in.
Really? Wow.
Before the auto industry crashed in the late 70s, but in the early 70s when I was, when my parents were starting a family. So what did they do? They moved to the suburbs. That's what happens.
You have a starter home.
That's what people do. Yeah. So first of all, I reject the premise that the cost of daycare is what's preventing people in Manhattan from starting a family. But secondly, the solution.
Because we will deliver universal child care for the many by taxing the wealthiest few.
That's the sound of the mob saying, that's right, confiscate their money, take their money. And at no point does anyone say, gee, it's too expensive for me to have kids in Manhattan. And then do they stop and say, well, where does my money go every year? And if you're living in New York City, over half your money is going to taxes. It's going to the federal government, it's going to the state government, and New York City has their own income tax. So it's going to the city of New York, too. You want to start eliminating line items, you start eliminating taxes, but instead they just voted for the guy who will raise their taxes even more.
Raise their taxes, but also introduce no accountability for the child care centers that he's about to give a big bonus to. We've already seen what's going on in Minnesota with their child daycare scandals. Can you imagine how many people are going to set up their own momdami daycares because they know that money is going to be flooding in? You wait.
Not to mention the insidious notion that if it's too expensive for you to have children, don't worry, go ahead and have the kids and then hand them over to a stranger funded by government taxes, and those strangers will raise your child while you go and continue to work so you can pay taxes to keep funding that government that's now raising your child. That's the solution?
Rather than the informal child care networks, which most people would prefer, their aunts, their cousins, their grandparents to be raising their kids if they have to work. That's what they would prefer, but those options get squeezed out when you know you're getting free daycare from some chick down the street, from some place down the street that is not even overseen. And I'm just going to stop there.
Endorsing his policies yesterday with a speech of his own was Grandpa Communist Bernie Sanders himself.
Making sure that every family in the city, regardless of income, has access to decent, quality food at an affordable cost is not radical. Good nutrition keeps us healthy, helps prevent chronic illnesses. In the long run, city-sponsored grocery stores will save society money.
Oh, sure it will. in the long run. And, of course, what he's saying is the only reason that people in New York are unhealthy and have rising health concerns is because they're getting low nutrition, bad food from bodegas or other places. It's by the way, these are the same people who would stop Republicans and conservatives from putting restrictions on how you can use your SNAP benefits and your EBT cards.
That sounded like a Maha speech to me, right? Ban sodas from SNAP, ban fast food and junk food.
Ban chocolate, right? Exactly. Okay, fine, we'll give you
Doritos,
SNAP benefits.
Cheetos, yeah.
But you can only get green vegetables and fruits and proteins and unprocessed food. But no, they would stand in the way of such things. All of it is a joke. Basically, it's all a premise to take more of your money and attain more power. And, well, the New Yorkers fell for it. Just remember this line, because it will, in fact, resonate for years and years to come. This is the difference between the two parties.
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
Yeah, trust me, collectivism brings on a lot of frigid nights, because there's no one left to pay the heat. It's 6:23.
Coming up, the turmoil in Iran, it's continued for days now, suddenly turned deadly. We'll give you all the details. Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 6:30.
It is 6:36. It's O'Connor and Company on this, the second day of January. How's your 2026 working out so far? Not so good if you're a Georgia Bulldog fan. Sorry.
I mean, the fact that we're alive, Larry, to see the new year, you can hear, taste, touch, smell, and walk, that's great.
I suppose,
that's a lot
Patrice,
to be thankful for.
Yeah, well, tell that to an Alabama football fan who just got humiliated at the Rose Bowl by the Indiana Hoosiers. Roll Tide! The SEC is not faring well this year in bowl season, except for Texas beating Michigan, but we won't talk about that. Coming up later today, Navy will play Memphis in the Liberty Bowl. I just wanted to tie a bow on that whole conversation about college football. My football. Look at Michael Shelton's wearing his Go Navy.
Michael's sporting his shirt.
Go Navy, beat Army. I'm wearing my Fear the Bones hoodie from last year's.
That's actually a really
Navy
nice
football.
hoodie. I was looking at it. It's Under Armour brand. Wow.
Under Armour does all the Navy swag. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And this is from last year's specialty uniform. I still have to get my swag from this year. I wait until the rush is over and I get it on clearance because I'm cheap.
Get it on sale.
Yeah, exactly. And this will be it. Actually, we can fade out our little funk here because we can just go down this path. I haven't discussed what I'm doing for my New Year's resolution, Patrice.
Do you want to do that now or later?
I don't mind. I mean, I discussed a little bit. I'm doing the Marine Corps. I talked about it yesterday with Hans. I'm doing the Marine Corps. Last year I did the Marine Corps Marathon. See, I believe very firmly in stating publicly what your resolution is. It sort of it makes it that much more, the accountability is higher, right? So last year I said, I'm going to run the Marine Corps Marathon. I've wanted to run a marathon my whole life. This is my challenge. I want to do it before I reach a certain age. And I did. And I got it done. It wasn't great. Now this year I'm kind of quintupling down. I'm committed to running all 5 of the Marine Corps race series, including the marathon again. So I'll be running the marathon again. But in March, I'm running the 1775K, which is down in Fredericksburg, I believe. The half marathon, maybe that's in Fredericksburg. That's in May. So March is 1775K, which is basically 11 miles.
Yes.
May is the half marathon. August is the Quantico 10K. Last week of October will be the Marine Corps Marathon, and then in November, the week before Thanksgiving, you do the 10K Turkey Trot. So I've signed up for all 5 races.
Wow.
And
okay, Larry. This is great. I don't call it a resolution. Just make it a goal, and you're going to kill it. This is amazing.
The other, I don't know how amazing it is. Here's the thing. Whenever anyone says, it's amazing you ran that marathon, in the back of their mind, what they're not saying is for a person your age. And relative fitness.
It's not in the back of my mind. I think it's just amazing that you're a runner. I used to love to run, and my knees my knees just don't give me that kind of longevity anymore. So I'm a walker. Maybe I would walk it, but
I'm not a runner. I'm an endurance athlete. There's a difference.
Okay,
I can make it through, but I would not call myself a runner or have a classic runner's body. My goal is to average. I mean, this year my goal is to average about 12 and a half minutes a mile in the marathon, and I think I'll get it because I did that. That was I did faster than that for the half marathon, the first half of the marathon. So I think I'll be able to do it. Anyway, but here's the other thing I'm doing, and I did this a couple of years ago. I am starting the Exodus 90 program. I don't know if you remember this. A lot of people do a dry January, right, and they don't drink in January, which I've been doing that for the last several years, and that's a good idea. Exodus 90 is a faith-based aesthetic discipline that it's open to anybody, but it's rooted in Catholic aestheticism and disciplines. Basically, it's like doubling Lent. You know how in Lent you make some sacrifices during Lent, and you try to refocus on Scripture and the Lord and have a time of prayer and charity and fasting. Exodus 90 is a 90-day discipline. It'll start this Monday, the 5th, and it'll go through Easter Sunday. So 90 days between January 5th and Easter. And I am going to I'm going to abstain from alcohol. I'm going to abstain from sweets. I'm going to abstain from snacking between meals. I'm going to have at least 30 minutes of exercise every single day. I'm going to forego screen time. That means television. I can only use my phone or my computer in the course of my professional duties. Now, obviously, with our job, that opens us up. But so I can check Twitter and I can look at things for the news cycle and say I'm informed on what's going on in the world. But I can't just do mindless scrolling. You can't do that. You can't engage in. I'm going to take a break from social media, except when most important to my job function. And the other thing,
streaming too. No watching television.
No television.
Wow.
No video games. 90 days of this. And the last thing that is usually the deal breaker for everybody: no hot showers. I don't know why that's funny.
Because that's the last person you should tell who cannot have hot showers. That is one of the reasons why I worry about traveling to some countries where hot showers are a luxury.
Exactly.
Well, Larry,
that's the point.
That's a great sacrifice for the Lord.
That's
I'm
what my
impressed.
90 days will do, and I'll try to keep up as many of those. Oh, and you also commit at least 1 hour a day to just reading Scripture or silent prayer.
And do you have a Bible plan, or are you going to are you reading the Bible through the year?
I do. Exodus 90 brings a scripture reading plan, but I'm also doing a couple of different Bible studies, online Bible studies through the St. Paul Center, which is Scott Hahn's Catholic study program out of Franciscan University. I'm also the other thing that you do is you create a fraternity. There's other men that I know in my life. We're all doing it together. And you have a daily check-in with one person to see how your day has gone, and then you have a weekly meeting. And I've got a group of people that I'm doing it with, where it's anonymous. Of course, I'm not going to reveal.
Larry, you are going to be spiritually and physically ripped.
That's the idea.
By the end of this year, but especially in the next 90 days.
And I'm also going to be yearning for a hot shower. That's true, too. But do you have any resolutions, Patrice?
No, we sat down and made our goals list for ourselves and the boys and the family. I got to set up things like my website. I really don't even have one. There's some smaller things that I'm going to do. But no. Our church, though, we do start prayer and fasting, and it's a daily, lots of prayer and fasting for the month of January. So that will start up, and I continue to do these things on a regular basis anyway. But as the Lord directs me, I'll figure out what my fasting schedule and I'm really right now this week I'm wrapping up. I read the New Testament in a year. So I did that this year, and I'm finishing it up this week. And so I'll decide whether I do the Bible in a year. It's much more aggressive.
I highly recommend Bible in a year.
I've done it before too, and I loved it. But do you do chronological, or do you do it through Bible?
I do it through the Great Adventure Bible series, which it's It is chronological in terms of the narrative books, but then there are other books that are layered on top of it that complement the chronological narrative, but also are not necessarily, so like the prophets and things like that.
Yes.
But I've done it twice. I'm doing it again. I'm doing a modified version of it this year. I'm actually going to do it in 4 months. So
I might do that. I might do the Bible in a year again. It's great. I mean, I just hope that folks find this is a really great fresh start. Start a new page.
That's the
and
idea.
Dive into your faith. You know what I mean? There's so many great tools too that make it very possible for you to do it right at your fingertips. And you know, hopefully folks avail themselves of these free resources out there too.
Exactly, to better yourself and to improve your life and the lives of the people around you. It's all about what I'm doing. It's called Exodus 90, and it's to make yourself a better husband and a better father and a better workmate, hopefully. Except when I'm cranky that I haven't had any alcohol in 45 days. That's where I hit my wall. That's okay. I'll be fine. Yes, embrace your faith and dive into it. Immerse yourself, unless your faith somehow dictates that you should murder innocent people for the sake of your... Yeah, that's not
I don't
good.
know what faith that is.
Well,
yeah, I know, right?
coming up, is there a revolution brewing on the streets of Tehran in the nation of Iran? We'll get to it in a moment. First, though, at 6:45, WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives with Jamie Whitten. Do you have any New Year's resolutions, Jamie, in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center?
Well, you're inspiring me. Let's just say that.
All right.
That's good.
Cold
That's good.
showers
Always
for
to be
you,
a better,
Whitten.
Always to be a better person. How about that?
I can't imagine
in our
you being any
favorite-
better than you are.
Oh. We are really positive this morning if you are making your travels around the region.
Hey, remember the Arab Street, Patrice?
Yes.
Yeah,
During the
Arab
Obama
Street.
administration, right?
That's right. We had all of these uprisings inspired by the Muslim Brotherhood and, in most cases, radicals who were trying to overthrow, yes, bad governments, but at least in many cases stable governments that we had a good relationship with. And then what ended up replacing them after the mob on the streets took over was much, much worse. But it was celebrated by the media and by the Obama administration, encouraged, because it was the Arab Street and the people had had enough. And it turned out radicals took over in many cases. Well, we're now witnessing something going on called the Persian Street. This happens in Iran every couple of years, maybe something that the totalitarian government does, inspires spontaneous protests. In one case, several years ago, it had to do with a young woman who was beaten to death on the street because a lock of her hair was showing from under a hijab. Well, we're not sure exactly what inspired this one, but there are protests on the streets, multiple protests, over 60 different Iranian cities because they're having an economic crisis right now. This has been going on for a couple of days now with government buildings being seized. And it's not just people upset about the economic situation. They're upset about the totalitarian, authoritarian Islamic Sharia law that's been implemented since the late 70s by the mullahs. And so when they take over a government building or when they, take over a public square, they're shouting slogans, saying, bring back the Shah. They want to overthrow this government. So President Trump finally chimed in on it yesterday after a couple of days and said on Truth Social, if Iran shot and violently kills peaceful, I think he means shoots. If Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States of America will come to their rescue. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. What do you make of that?
That is definitely a threat to be taken very seriously. I think on the heels of President Trump's Christmas Day bombings in northern Nigeria, he made good on his promise there, and this is a promise he'll keep. I understand we certainly would want regime change in Iran. And this is also on the heels of the fact that President Trump said, hey, if you guys get it in your brains to try and reignite or restart your missiles and your nuclear weapons program, we're going to bomb you into oblivion again.
Yeah.
I think they should heed his warning very clearly.
Reza Pahlavi is the crown prince, the Shah's son. He is not only alive and in exile here in America, but he actually lives locally in Northern Virginia. He took to social media and said, "I salute you for standing courageously across Iran." This is addressed to his brave and honorable compatriots. "You are making history written by the courage, solidarity, and determination of a nation reclaiming its country. Those who have been killed by this regime over the past 2 days are true heroes of this land. Their names and memories will live forever in our national conscience. I call on all compatriots to honor each and every fallen hero of this national uprising, not only in their own cities and regions, but across Iran and around the world, so that we show their path and their purpose are shared by all of us, and will continue until the day Iran is free. Stay united, stay focused on the goal. Victory will be ours." Sounds like the Crown Prince is ready to assert control should the revolution be successful. We'll keep an eye on that and certainly have some guests next week on this program. Keep an eye on it over the weekend. It's 6:53. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, should getting rid of the filibuster be the top of the list for Republicans' resolutions in the Senate? Heather Higgins thinks so. She'll join us next.